Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome, everyone, to the Ascension Now panel. This is going to be an amazing, very informative, and very enlightening panel with an amazing group of speakers that we have here. And invite you all. We have a few more people walking in. And my name is Deborah Giusti, and I've been on the spiritual ascension path, like many of you, for many, many years. And as we know, and why you're here at the panel now, is that there is a major spiritual escalation, evolution happening now. And this is what we're going to be talking about, how to define this process that we've been coming into, that we're calling Ascension, this meme that's circulating around us now that many spiritual teachers are talking about. And we all know that there's a major shift happening now. And we can see it, we can feel it. We experience it in our world with a lot of changes happening in the world, with things that have been under the rug for so long coming up to the surface and being igniting so we can see it. Things like the Me Too movement that are coming in that have really shifted the consciousness in the planet. And for many of us, there's an inner knowing that we have happening. An inner knowing that we came to the planet at this time for this special time, and that there's something happening in our world and in our psyche and our spiritual evolution and in our lives. And that's probably what drew you to this panel right now. And maybe even why we came to the planet at this time. So this word ascension is like the blind men in the six blind men in the elephant, where we're all looking at this major evolutionary process in a way and trying to define what it's about. And that's what's so great about these panelists here, is they're experts looking at it from various different perspectives, and they've all had major experiences in Ascension, they've researched Ascension, and what they're going to be able to share with you is their personal experience about Ascension. And for me, it's one of the most exciting things that I see happening right now. And I've had a lot of also personal experience about Ascension. And what we're talking about is a rapid evolutionary spiritual growth that's happening right now on the planet and the whole solar system, as well as what's happening currently that's going to be happening. And what I experienced personally is an inner knowing that something currently is happening now, and also very experiences that come to me, such as an opening of my intuition, opening of synchronicity that happens over and over again, current healing and transmissions of core wounds that are happening, and major life transitions coming in right now. And I'm assuming a lot of you have experienced these massive spiritual changes and evolutions in your life that are happening now. And also tuning into your divine mission. Why did you come here? What's currently happening? And I'm happy to say here I've assembled a great group of panelists that are going to be able to share with you their perspective on what's currently happening now. And we're going to take this panel in 3 different sections. First of all, they'll be able to share what in their life has them coming to the experience of Ascension, what they've experienced, their research, and their personal experience of Ascension, and what they think it is. because there's many different perspectives on what we can call it right now. And then we're going to talk about the global cosmic ascension plan, like what is this overall plan and how does this come into our world and what is the perspective on it? And then we're going to bring it down to the personal, is how is it really affecting me now and how can I get on board of accelerating this ascension process that's happening now. We've got a large panel here, which is wonderful, so you're going to be able to hear a lot of different perspectives, and you'll hear from all of them. So I'd like to start and go down the row and have everyone give their personal experience of ascension, especially defining it, because we've all heard of the Christian concept of ascension, but what we're talking about here is a spiritual escalation and an embodied ascension that seems to be available for us at this time right now. And so they're all going to speak from their personal perspective about what it is and what they think it means for you and their personal experience on it. And first of all, I'd like to invite David Christopher Lewis, who's a mystic and author and clairaudient and spokesperson for the Ascended Masters. And he shares the Ascended Masters' practical and progressive revelations for self-realization. He co-founded the Heart Center and Meru University. And so, David, can you explain your perspective on what this process is and how it's touching us right now and your experience of ascension?
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. Can you hear me now?
This one works?
Okay, thank you, Deborah. And thank you, panelists, and thank you all for being here. It's really a privilege and an honor. To me, the ascension is a process, and it's a daily experience of oneness with God through devotion and through the spiritual practices that I have been privileged to engage in from an early age in my life that is sustained on a regular basis, and it's a continuum of consciousness that's ever spiraling upward. It's the raised kundalini that I've been privileged to experience in my devotion to God, and it culminates in this beautiful flowering of light in the crown chakra that then the rub is to sustain that, right? It's to use that light to bless life, to radiate and emanate beingness and presence to every sentient being in the universe. So I don't see it as a one-time thing. I think it's a process, and that we go through phases and gradations of accelerated consciousness through the energy that we are able to sustain in our chakras and our auric field and throughout our being, and then to use it to grace and to bless life. It's work. You know, Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days, fasting and praying. Gautama was under the bo tree for 40 days. Daniel Brinkley, a good friend of mine who's here, was struck by lightning and couldn't move for 9 months or more and had to go through a whole resurrection of his body temple. And through his experience, he was metamorphized into a new being. Byron Katie talks about the work, and I believe the ascension is work. So tell me when my time is done, but okay. Is that, how much time do I have? Another minute? I think we each have an odyssey that we're traveling, and we have to go through the labors like Hercules or Odysseus to quell the demons within ourselves so that the true light of our divine presence can shine forth. So, although there's a planetary ascension that we're going to talk about later, I think it's a very individual thing for us. It's unique for each one of us, and it's a grace and a blessing to be alive today to go through this.
Thank you, Dave. And Meg Benedicte, she is a foremost Ascension teacher that has many programs online. She is a teacher and founder of Quantum Access, and she experienced a profound Kundalini awakening in 1984 that activated her spiritual ascension. And her mission is to help accelerate everyone's ascension experience. Thank you, Meg.
Thank you, Deborah. So from my experience, Ascension is definitely an accelerated evolution. And we're all going through it at our own pace, and the planet's going through it as well. And I began to go through my own accelerated evolution starting in '94 in the January earthquake in Northridge, California, Los Angeles. And it allowed my higher self, my divine self, to come into the body. And so I'm here to represent the angelics. You know, we hear a lot about all of the ET races and the visitations and the ships and all this, but I'm going to be here talking more on the angelic side, which we don't hear as much. But it is, you know, it's my honor to be here representing the feminine aspect of Archangel Metatron. And so I've come in bringing in Metatron's sacred geometry portal to be able to work with an accelerated template of creation and apply it in our own energy fields and our own personal ascension. Embedded within Metatron's cube is the double tetrahedron Merkaba. If you are familiar with the Merkaba, this is the actual geometry of our light body and of the energetic torus, T-O-R-U-S. And so when we begin to activate that geometry within our own bodies and in our auras, an entire transformation starts to happen within our energetics. We're actually learning to become self-sustained ecosystems, in a sense like you're the center of your universe. And you're able to tap into that unlimited life force of the universe. And you begin to create an environment within your sacred vessel for embodying your divine self, your soul presence. This has been impossible while we've lived in time compression and density. That's all evolving now so that we can begin to, in a sense, unwind time compression and start to bring the divine self, the soul presence, in and merge it with the human self. And this then completely changes your reality. You start to live from what's called soul magnetism. You start to draw in what matches your truth and your purpose and your service and your joy. And so this has been an incredible process to go through, and we're still in it. People always go, well, Meg, when is this gonna, end? No. This is a lifestyle, you guys. You're in it for the duration. We will continue to accelerate and evolve and transform in ways I don't think we can even imagine yet. So it's a very miraculous time to be here on the planet, and I'm thrilled to share with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Meg. And Lori Spagna is also an amazing Ascension teacher that teaches people worldwide about Ascension. She's an author, best-selling author, speaker, visionary. She works with dormant DNA activation, sacred energy healing, and intuitive channeling. And I'm really happy to have Lori Spagna again on the panel.
Thanks, Deborah. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Again, my name is Lori Ann Spagna. For more than 20 years, I've been helping humans and animals to align with the divine source which exists within each and every one of us, to really allow us to align with that source and live our best lives ever. And I do that through the process of working with intuitive guidance, divine guidance, taking information from the non-physical realm, including angels, benevolent beings in the non-physical, star family races, animal kingdom, members of the animal kingdom, and other benevolence, ascended masters, etc., who are here to assist us and serve us from the non-physical, and taking the information that they share and the energy to assist us, right? So I do it through channeled divine guidance, information, energy healing, intuition, animal communication, and telepathy, right? So, so basically, in terms of ascension, I forgot to look at my time. In terms of ascension, here's what my take on it is. We're going through a massive evolutionary shift. There's no question that that's going on, even if there are a majority of humans on the earth right now who aren't aware that this is going on. This evolutionary shift is an internal shift. So we're very often being told that there's an external event that's going to happen, and I'd like to help people to understand this. This evolutionary shift is taking place across all aspects of our reality. That includes socially, culturally, geographically, politically, spiritually, religiously, and especially, above all, internally, because the external reality is simply reflecting the internal changes which are going on during this evolutionary shift. So internally, we're shifting emotionally, mentally, physiologically, physically, the whole kit and caboodle. And as we shift, the external reality reflects that. Now, very important to say that the shift that's happening is a vibrational shift. So we've been existing in what's called a physical reality where the only thing that's real is physical, and anything non-physical is not real. And we're shifting in a vibrational way, energetically, becoming conscious of the universal currency. What is the universal currency? The universal currency is energy and a vibrational measurement of that energy. So as we shift our internal vibration, we become conscious of energetic exchange and vibrational frequency. We shift our vibrational frequency to match a different frequency, and as we do that, we come out of this existence of thinking everything is entirely physical, and we ascend into a higher, lighter frequency range where we know, we don't just believe, we know that everything is non-physical and that we are representations of our vibrational expression. Now, I forgot my time. Just a couple other things about this. As we shift, one of the things we become very clearly aware of is that a way to explain it is that we are holographic expressions. Really important to understand this because each and every one of us is having a holographic experience based on our frequency, our vibration, and our consciousness. So when some famous person gets up, like any one of us, and tells you about a holographic experience that they're having, and they're sharing with you as if it's about to happen on a global level. Am I out of time?
No. It was just
okay, so when
accentuating
they're telling you that that's going to happen on a global level to everybody, that's a universal timeline they're projecting their belief system into, but it's not universally true. Can we understand that? You're having an experience where you get to choose with consciousness what you want to experience. And that experience is going to be a reflection of your vibrational level of consciousness. This is why it's so important for us to internally change and transform so that we can have desirable experiences rather than world cataclysms, death, disease, dying, etc. Okay, that's an ascension experience. It's about your free will based on your vibration. All right, I hope that's helpful. I'm going to pass.
Thank you, Lori. That was amazing. And we have Tracy Ash. She is a wonderful light worker of the planet. On the case for Ascension, she goes to the sacred centers all over the world and does healings and activations, and is, as you'll see, very passionately on board with Ascension. And what do you have to say, Tracy?
Okay, I've traveled all the way from England to come and talk to you guys and to share, to launch some new disclosure in terms of what's happening, in terms of ascension and realities, in terms of the way that we are being indeed aided at this time. Now, we've just been up to Shasta, and I mean, I've just had a 90-minute contact experience where the mountain of Shasta is on fire in light, and a whole fleet made itself visible. And we filmed it, and we're going to premiere it here for you today. This is my project, the New Earth Project, and I'm sharing that with the Ascension Project. Just incredible footage. Laura Eisenhower has seen it. She's validated it as being the best live, real footage to date. See SETI Australia too. So, this is my dream, the dream of ascension. I came in as a kid, having contact experiences, metaphysical experiences. I've trained to assist in this ascension process. I assist in individuals becoming, creating themselves as exceptional human beings. Here are your signposts, your sacred destiny, your purpose. You are a missionary of light when you indeed listen to your highest calling. That's when we mobilize as the pioneers of a new frontier and a new paradigm of research, spirituality, and transformational evolutionary technologies. I mean, we're standing at the edge, and it is absolutely now. I saw David's talk yesterday. I'm sorry, David, it is absolutely now. So, I'm going to multiple power sites almost every single month. January, Uluru, Egypt, 2 in 1 month. Then Japan, here, I don't know where else. I mean, I'm rolling up a lot. Maybe Egypt twice in the last 4 months. And I'm filming and I'm photographing what is indeed happening in terms of the ascension. I mean, I've got the photographs. What's happening? This is happening. Check out the website. I have the photographs that indeed is showing we're ramping up in terms of the ascension frequencies, and the realities are now indeed visible. You know, it's like extraordinary stuff. Done?
Yeah. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. And we're very happy to have Corey Good on the panel because he has an amazing perspective from everything he's been through. I'm sure many of you know he's been sharing with us his experience in the Secret Space program and connection with alien species such as the blue avians. And with everything he talks about, the bottom line of what all that information is about is we are going through ascension, a planetary, solar system, and personal ascension. So I'm very happy to present Corey Good.
Thank you. Some of you may have heard part of this in my talk about an hour ago. I think for me, understanding ascension is based really around fully understanding oneness. Ascension is basically we're returning to the one infinite creator. As I stated earlier, from my understanding, the one infinite creator wanted to understand duality. It didn't want to understand duality from any of our points of view. It wanted to understand duality from every possible point of view. So it exploded itself into innumerable sparks, of which we are those. Animals, minerals, everything is that consciousness, that spark of the one infinite creator. And the more we understand oneness and how we are fragments of the one attempting to return to the one, all of the levels of ascension that we go through are levels of us reattaining further understanding of what we are as the one. And how it's been shared to me is that the next breakthrough is going to be a consciousness, ascension in consciousness. Because we have a co-creative consciousness, we are sparks of the one infinite creator, therefore we are co-creators. We're creating this reality. This is a consensus reality. As our consciousness expands, we begin to understand that co-creative ability more and more and begin to develop these superpowers. We understand that we have more abilities within this construct than we've been led to believe. So for me, ascension has been a personal process of understanding who and what I am, relearning that I'm a spark of the one, and then using that power and that ability to begin to bring my consciousness in alignment to ascend.
Beautiful. Thank you, Corey. And Kimberly Meredith, she is actually an amazing healer that had a personal experience that has shifted up her to living in fifth dimensional and oneness consciousness and channeling energy from that place. So she speaks from personal experience. I had a healing with her yesterday that was totally amazing. You've probably seen some of her talks, and she's the real deal. So I'm really happy to have her on the panel. And can you tell us your perspective from Ascension, especially from the healing work that you do?
Thank you for having me here today. I think I'm better. So to kind of touch off from what Corey just said about tapping into the oneness and higher consciousness. We talk a lot about consciousness and being in the higher consciousness is where we want to be. And when you talk about ascension and higher consciousness and reaching that and superpowers, right? Wow, there's so much in that. So I had a near-death experience. I've had two of them in my life. One when I was 11 years old, and one just 4 years ago. And since then, I have contact with all kinds of civilizations. And one of the most important is most powerful, which is the infinite, beautiful energy of God, which is love, right? The energy of love, God. And in that, I have communication with my eyes that blink, information, but with that also other civilizations, but with lots of code blinking that goes on. And so they often, when I am channeling information, they say to me that we are not fully using our full capacity with our brain. Do you understand that? Yeah, we're not fully right now because we're in a lower dimension at this moment. We're bouncing around in dimensions at this time. But the good amazingness that I'm getting from my guides is that we are moving, we're ascending in this higher dimension, the fifth dimension. There's many dimensions. I mean, we go in and out of dimensions. We can bounce from 3 to 12 and above all the time. But the amazing, amazing things that I have seen in just the little bit of time that I've been doing my work, where I've seen tumors dissolve, just like Harry Potter, right off, are just so fabulous that people are just surrendering over, and this is just transcending off the body. And so, when to me means ascending, is that you are truly surrendering in this higher dimension. So many will ask me, well, I'm ready. I want to ascend in this higher dimension. And so when we talk about saints, what is a saint? Or what is an angel or a spirit or someone that dies and transcends? Or what is an ascending master? All of these words and things that happen, but it truly is someone that is connecting to the higher consciousness. But once again, what is the darker? Because if you understand the higher consciousness, you must understand the lower consciousness. So we're always dueling with both energies on every civilization. And I could go on more about that, but at this moment, I'm happy to say to all of you that my answer of ascension is, going back to what Corey said, is the one divine love of God, and putting 2 feet in all the way with that. Amen.
Thank you, Kimberly. So now we're going to take the lens and we're going to widen it to understand the cosmic ascension plan. What is really the overall plan? As you know, everything's connected. It's not just us doing this ascension thing here. Everything is connected. And there's a major plan that's happening. And a lot of these panelists have viewpoints into that cosmic ascension plan. So I'd like to ask you to speak on some of these topics that you can pick out. As Kimberly mentioned, what is this ascending into what people are calling either 4th density or 5th dimension? What does that really mean? What is this genetic transfiguration that seems to be associated with ascension or shifting timelines or the total transfiguration of the planet, including the dismantling of the corrupt systems that we seem to see beginning to happen in our system now? How is that all part of the plan? And also, how is ascension now different from what we've heard in other ancient religions and mysticisms? Like, what is currently happening now with this current plan? And especially, how do we get support, and where is the support for this journey? What about connecting with ascended master guides and the higher galactic civilizations, and what is their role in assisting us in this ascension process? And what is this phenomenon called the event, the solar flash that we keep hearing about? Not just from one teacher, but many different sources, and what may be their perception on that. So take any of these topics that you feel connected with and please expand on them. David?
Well, the Ascended Masters are integrally involved in our individual self-realization, enlightenment, and liberation, which leads to the ascension, and the collective self-realization, enlightenment, and liberation. And I look at this as like a cosmic surrender experiment, because I've experienced the surrender of the totality of my being into God and what I call the absorption into the divine light and love. And so when we let go of the lesser self and embrace the divine self, we go through these phases of the absorption that results in the ultimate experience of oneness that Corey spoke of, which is the ascension. So individually, we have to do it. We can't just talk about the collective doing it without us individually experiencing it. And when we experience it, then we can speak from personal knowledge and gnosis. So I see it as seminal and absolutely essential that we individually know what this is, and what, we can talk all day about 5th dimension and all these things, but unless we have experienced that oneness state, the masters call it the unity field of beingness. The unity field of beingness. It's a field of energy, it's a oneness state, it's perfection, it's pure love. I experienced it as an absorption into God And the infinite light of pure, unadulterated love was so phenomenal that it was like I was everywhere and nowhere. I was one with everything, and everything was one with me. The Buddhists have a teaching, we've been mother to every other being, and every other being has been our mother. And so there's no more separation. There's only oneness. So I think that the crux of the matter is that when we do it individually, when we have that experience, then we are able to broadcast that energy and that field of oneness to all life, because we're all connected. We are all one already. We just have to awaken to it again and realize it again, right? And so we're all in the process of self-realizing this oneness state that has always coexisted, because we are co-creators. And then once we awaken to that, like the Buddha awoke, then all power in heaven and earth is available to us, as Jesus said. All power in heaven and earth is available to us. Then with God, we can do anything. Everything becomes available and possible. So the Ascended Masters are our elder brothers and sisters who have done it. They are our exemplars, they are our guides, they are our guardian spirits, and the universal brother-sisterhood that oversees the evolution of mankind over ages of time is integrally involved in our individual self-realization and our collective self-realization, enlightenment, liberation, and then ascension. So I put my trust and faith in the elder brothers and sisters who show me the way, guide us every day in very dynamic and integrated ways that are practical. I'm a practical being. I think we have to anchor the light of the ascension in the earth. That's, to me, the crux of the matter. I do permaculture. I work with nature. Nature is the greatest exponent of God's creation and what God embedded in the universe as what life is and who we are. So when we work with nature, we rediscover our true nature. And it's beautiful, it's divine, it's holy, it's impeccably wondrous. And that daily experience of just being in nature and feeling like what Eckhart Tolle felt, and what we now know as the eternal now, in this moment, is the doorway to the ascension.
Thank you, David. Beautiful. And Meg, you might use that one. The Cosmic Ascension Plan.
Okay, so the Ascension Plan, kind of get a reference point where we've been and where we're heading. And so where we've been is we were born into a polarized geomagnetic planet with these battling forces of positive and negative and masculine, feminine, and light and shadow. And so this has been, our everyday reality that we have navigated through that kind of a battlefield, this push-pull going on, not only within our own energetics, but also in the planetary field and then with each other. And so this has kept us very limited and locked in. It's literally, we see it in our DNA. We have the dual spin strands of duality, literally, as how we manifest physically with our DNA. So we're trying to very fast evolve from that reality and that condition into a multidimensional being with multiple strands of DNA. Every strand connects to a dimensional experience, and we're starting to learn how to neutralize the polarity, that push-pull, and start to come into what physicists call 0 point. Start to come into this neutral space, zero gravity, zero movement, calm, quiet, peaceful, still. This is not easy because we're, in a way, our egos are addicted to that drama of the polarity. So we're having to get quiet. Meditation is so key to doing this. I don't know how I could have ever learned this without daily meditation, is just learning how to get into that 0 point state, that neutral space, without the mind, without the emotions, just being present, as Eckhart Tolle is so beautifully teaching us how to be in the now, in presence. And when we can do this, then, in a sense, we open like a stargate within us. We open this portal within us that can rise above just the three-dimensional left brain thinking mind of the physical world. We start to open up multiple brain centers. We start to open up our heart center. We begin to move away from thinking everything and starting to feel. The fifth dimension is it's a feeling field. So for us to be able to open and expand into that dimensional experience, we have to not only raise our frequency higher, because it's a feeling field, not a thinking field, but then we also need to be feeling that higher frequency of love, of gratitude, of compassion, of kindness, loving kindness. I mean, doesn't seem like it's around anymore, bringing loving kindness back into our world. So when we have that radiating from our heart center, it literally opens doors in front of us. It opens dimensions into our reality. It opens our consciousness to be able to travel into higher realms of knowledge, ancient knowledge, universal knowledge. So everything starts to open up when we can get into these hearts. I know when I first started doing this, my heart was locked. It was like body armor on my chest, right? It was not letting anything in, and it wasn't letting anything out. So I had to spend a lot of time in just going deep into the wounding in the heart, being present with my poor little inner child, and just starting that process of coming back into oneness, coming back into wholeness, and being able to navigate this just incredible process from 3-dimension into 5-dimension and higher. And so this is what the Ascension is all about. And I get all the time people saying, well, what is my soul purpose? How do I know who my soul is? You need to get that soul in your body. Otherwise, it's just kind of a fantasy. You need visceral experience with your divine self, with your soul presence. Unfortunately, because we've been in this polarized push-pull, it's been pushing our souls out of our bodies, it's like out in the ethers. So we're in this process of creating the stillness, the vacuum state, the 0 point to pull the soul in and begin to have a very intimate, personal relationship with our divine self now. And that way then your soul pulls you through the heart to what is for your highest good. You're not going to think about any of that. I bypass the thinking mind as much as I can. Let your heart pull you to your truth, to what matches you, what mirrors your truth, what supports you. And then you can really start to live from a much higher dimensional experience than when we were locked down in that polarized 3-dimensional thinking mind. So heart center, you guys, that's the key. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Meg. And Lori.
Okay, so I'm going to give, as I always say, I've shared many panels with Meg, and I love Meg, and I feel like I always love what she says, and I often share another version. We speak a lot of the same language. So here's what I would like to offer, a very tangible way to understand our ascension process. First, for definition's sake, let's define third-dimensional reality, which is the reality we've been existing in. The third-dimensional reality, which is based on physicality, involves these 3 dimensions, which we know as light, sound, and space. Space could include height, width, distance, and you could also include the concept of linear time as a concept of space, right? So we're shifting out of this third-dimensional reality. It does not mean we leave it behind. It means we evolve into something even greater, into anchoring into a fifth dimensional reality. And this fifth dimensional reality, again, is based on the vibrational frequency that we hold and embody, but it's also based on unity consciousness, the recognition, and these are basic steps. Number one, we must identify ourselves as versions of, or aspects of divine source, however we identify that divine source. We must identify each and every other living being, person, place, thing, including non-physical, non-spiritual, what we might identify as just a solid matter, as aspects of that source. Number three, we must begin to recognize that everything within us that entangles us and snarls us and keeps us integrated into the third dimensional reality must be somehow addressed, identified, healed, resolved, cleared, or somehow unhooked, disentangled, whatever that is. So that includes thoughts, beliefs, ideas, concepts, points of view, perspectives, judgments, opinions that anchor us into this only physical reality, right? Because in order to be in this fifth dimensional realm, identifying ourselves as aspects of the one and identifying everything and everyone else as aspects of the one, we have to clear, heal, and resolve this separation, these energetic aspects of separation, right? And then as we do that, we also work with the energy field, the quantum field, the divine consciousness of source from this more neutralized space to align that source, all aspects of that source within us energetically. So we embody that source, not just from the left linear brain, but from all aspects of our body, our being, and our entire consciousness. Make sense? Everyone with me on this? So we shift from living from a left linear brain way of thinking in this third dimensional construct of existence into this fifth dimensional construct of existence by not only being left brain thinkers, but also right brain knowers and heart-centered beings that are navigating our reality from the perspective of an energetic frequency based in vibrational harmony with love and peace and unity consciousness. And the overall purpose from that perspective is to be of service to the collective, to each and every one of ourselves, with harm to none. So that means we don't perjure or harm ourselves just to be of service, but we also don't focus from service to self entirely without considering the greater good of all. Yeah, so this is what we're shifting into. This is Ascension. A couple other quick things I want to say. Number one, understand how important the DNA is in this process. In third dimensional reality, the DNA is a record of your ancestors and your lifetimes. So even if you don't believe in past lifetimes, it really doesn't matter. Some parallel existence and some parallel reality, some aspect of yourself existed, had experiences, took on beliefs, belief systems, points of view, perspectives, etc., and it was stored as a record in your DNA. And as it's passed down through generations, that DNA, those first two strands, are storing up that information so that you, in this lifetime, have the information that you need to work with to disentangle yourself from this third dimensional reality. So as you look at that information and you work with yourself as a healer and other divine assistants, whether it's embodied or not, this is part of how you disentangle from that third dimensional reality using a non-physical realm in fourth dimensional reality. And then as you do that, you simultaneously begin to awaken these other strands of DNA. This is so critical because we know factually that we have at least 10 more strands of DNA that's been dormant. It's waiting to be activated. What is required to activate that DNA is the first gene that opens it all up, that starts to open up, and that is, can anyone guess? Compassion. So you have to actually embody some kind of sincere compassion to access, that's like a doorway to access the rest of the genetic DNA that's available to you that turns on all your superhuman abilities. Everyone's psychic, everyone's an intuitive, everyone is a healer, everyone is gifted, everyone can connect with the non-physical realm and speak with your angels, your benevolence, your ancestors who have crossed over, and other ascended masters, benevolent beings, star family races. Everyone can connect with the non-physical realm and access higher consciousness. But you have to have that compassion open first, and then you activate these, what I call sacred key codes in your own dormant DNA, waiting to be activated. And as you do, all of these gifts start to turn on. This is part of the ascension process. Okay, I have a lot more to share, but I'm going to leave it at that for now because I think my time's up. Thank you.
Very helpful. Thank you. Very clear. And
Thank
Tracy,
you.
yes.
I just want to speak very quickly. Law of One is identifying your own unique, individual, soul purpose, sacred purpose. This allows you to weave the wound and the dream. It allows you to transmit the highest frequency. Law of One is embodiment. The next phase of ascension is this. Sacred love between men and women, between your partners, your friendships, your children. And ascension and initiation means this, that your wisdom and your knowledge is transmitted metaphysically. So you are empowering each and every individual you touch in your life. Now, we can sit up here as experts and claim the data on ascension. Believe me, it is all about frequency, and it's all about registering frequency, working on your live feed continuously. And then the third step is this. The law of evolution states this. There will be contact when we as humanity can listen to ourselves, listen to the toxic programming that is part of an elite power agenda, that when we fail in our own internal work, we become a mule in terms of the lower frequencies. Now, this is very important. Your warriorship is required. You are ascension, and you are the tipping point, and you must do that work beyond quoting, reading, and researching. Now, I had a huge contact experience in January. I mean, I had dream paralysis on a plane as I was flying out of Sydney. And the contact message was this: we will assist you if you choose to evolve and you choose to mobilize to create the miracle solutions of the planet at this time. We are those miracles. We are those miracle solutions. And we must be paradigm reality shifters. So here is the movie, the film in terms of our contact experience at Shasta. This is what happens when you commit yourself to ascension. This is what happens when groups choose to mobilize, to aid the planet, to open the grid, to help humanity in this massive phase. So we must all choose to play our role. Yes, it's about choosing to play a role, and that's found in your frequency.
I'm glad to see every. Oh, do we have a video? Oh, okay.
Let's try it next time.
It needs to be hooked up. Thank you. Yes.
I can't. What?
So you're doing it from the.
No. Okay, we need. need to move on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm not managing.
Okay, lights out. Thank you. So we set up a global grid of groups that are mobilizing to initiate contact to aid the ascension process. This was the result of the second night of sky watching. Can you see it?
Okay, we've tried to run it a couple times now, so I think we need to move on.
They got it. Okay, I'm sorry it didn't work. Yes! They got it? Yay! We did it!
Do you want to try this one? Or this one?
Hello. Okay, so now Corey is up next. And Corey, you did an amazing seminar just now on the solar flash. So
Thank you.
I'd love for you to encapsulate that for everyone here, so that that's an important part of what's happening in the few minutes. If you could bullet that. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yes, the solar flash has been, or some sort of solar event has been a part of many prophecies. And one of the things that was, I guess, imparted to me was that nothing on any of the other planets, when they've gone through their ascension, nothing happened exactly like they expected from their prophecies. So one of the things that was shown to me by the Anshar, which they're a group that claimed to be us from the future, and in this, they were, in this explanation of their past, which is supposed to be our future, they stated that there was indeed a solar event in the not too distant future. And it was a mass coronal ejection, 360 degrees. And it was indeed a bad day in their timeline for the Earth. The Earth had about a 20-degree tilt change, as well as a lot of debris, or plasma debris from the sun hit the Earth and caused all of the electronics to collapse on the Earth. And then directly after that, our cosmic cousins came and began to render aid to us, because some sort of cosmic law stipulates that once a civilization falls, open contact can occur. Now, like I said, this was the Anshar's timeline, and we have the co-creative ability to create our own